Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Herbie's Garage. I'm still on the 2001 Honda Shadow Sabre 1100, and I decided to tackle the rear now. I've got the front end done. So I wanted to change the tire on the rear, so I went ahead and removed it off camera and changed the tire. And I want to talk about these tires a little bit, the ones that I took off, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a close-up of the tire, and then I'll show you the new tire. All right, this is the tire that I took off of it. And just like the front, I want to show you the date stamp on it. See it right there. It's a 38th week of 2004. This is a 25-year-old tire. But more than that, look at this. See that cracks on the sidewalls? It's like that all the way around on both sides of the tire. Awful. And this passed inspection in the state of Missouri. Boy, somebody needs to do a better job of checking, I'll tell you that. But here's the good news. Here's my new tire. And I got these tires from Dennis Kirk. I think I mentioned that before. And these tires were manufactured the 17th week of 2025 this year. So Dennis Kirk did me a solid and sent me some really good tires. If you're wondering what I'm putting on, this is a Shinko Tourmaster tire. Supposed to be good tires. There's good reviews on them, and we'll find out. And whenever I took this out, these drive splines were completely nothing but dust. There was no grease on them whatsoever on either inside here or on the wheel, either one. They were both dry. But fortunately, Honda puts good quality parts in their machines, and there's no damage to the splines. So I need to really grease those up before I put it back in, and I will do that. The first thing we're going to tackle is the rear brake caliper. Put new shoes on it, and I want to show you this. Look how far out that caliper is. It is all the way out, and those shoes, there's nothing left of those shoes. Completely gone. So we're going to take it apart, clean it up a little bit, put new pads on it, and we're going to put this back in. I had to take it completely out. In order to get that tire out, I basically had to pull this whole thing out, so I had to disconnect the hose from it. So I'll have to bleed the brakes and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, first thing we'll do is we'll take these pads out. And this screw here is nothing but a plug. It blocks the actual pin that you have to take out. And this is all that holds these shoes in, is this one pin. And the shoes slide right out. You want to see the shoes? That's what's left of them. Basically nothing. I mean, it has just a very minor amount of brake pad left. But boy, this needs new brake pads on it, no doubt. So before we push this piston in, I want to take this apart and clean it a little bit. So we'll take the caliper off of the stay. These bolts are a little stiff. Looks like it's got some thread locker on it. There's a little bit of grease on there, not very much. Okay, we have to remember that this goes back on like this, which it's not hard to remember because it's got a piece of rubber on the inside. And we'll take this bolt out. Yeah, there's no grease at all on that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up real good. And this hardware fell out whenever I was taking this out. I'm not really sure how this goes back in, but I'll figure it out, I guess. Just something mild. You don't want to use a wire brush on this. You know, a good stiff bristle toothbrush should be good enough. That's sufficient. Alright, that ought to be good enough. Okay. That should be good for that. And we'll take our pin, clean it up. Okay. And then these we'll just wipe off because we're going to put more grease on them. Okay, now if you have a pad spreader, you can put it in there and stuff. If you don't, you can just put an old pad back in there and get you a C-clamp. This is probably going to squish out some brake fluid, but we'll just push it back in with the C-clamp. And we want it all the way in to make it a little bit easier for us to be able to put him on the bike. Once it's flush, it's good enough. Like that. I had to re-clean it here on the outside, but it fits right here and it just snaps in. There's not much that holds it on, just them two little clips on the side, but that snaps on right there. So now we need to put together our two pieces here. We'll take our big bolt and I'll take some good quality molybdenum grease that's good for wear, and we'll coat this pin real good. Alright, we'll just lightly snug that, and we'll put a little bit of grease on this bolt. I'll shove him in there. I can give it a good tightening once it's in the bike. It's kind of hard to tighten it out here, but I'll give it a little try. I think that'll do it. Make sure our hardware is still in place, and it looks like it is. You can see that's the way it looks. There's a hardware piece in the bottom, and it only goes in one way, so pay attention to that. And then we have this hardware piece back here in the back on the brake stay. Try to get this to where you can see. But those shoes go in. And they'll kind of lock in the front. Of course, you want the pads facing each other. You gotta be really easy with it so you don't knock the hardware out. Then you want to take your pin and put a good coating of grease on that. You want everything to slide like it should. And you got to kind of push the front edge of it down because it's under spring tension. Once you get it lined up, it'll just screw in place. And if you can get you a piece of cardboard, just cut you a piece and kind of fold it enough to where you can stick it in here between the brakes like that, and so it holds the brakes kind of open so they don't fall out. Because see how those are tucked in there? If they fall inward, they'll fall out of that opening. So you want to make sure that they're pushed in place before you set this on your caliper. So if you stick that piece of cardboard in between there like that, that'll hold them open until you get ready to set it on your bike. Then you can pull it out and put it on your rotor. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and coat these splines. And I have this super lithium moly grease, and it's pretty good for this kind of thing, but I also have some leftover Honda molybdenum grease. This is what you're supposed to use on your drive splines. Really good stuff. I don't know if I have enough of it, but we'll see what we can do. I do have quite a bit of it in there, I guess. Probably have enough to do this job. But I like to really coat this well. I know you're not supposed to overdo it. If I have one negative, it's that I like to overdo more so than underdo in my mechanical stuff. Being that this had no grease in it, this should be a welcome change. Okay, that should be good for that side. Now we'll coat this. Make sure you get it all the way down into the bottom of the grooves. We want plenty. Let me turn the tire. Oh yeah, I've got plenty enough to do this job. Probably gonna have a little extra. I think that's good. Alright, so now we'll roll our tire in there. It's a tight squeeze too. Brake line out of the way. And once you line it up, it'll just fall in there. I'm just going to temporarily let it sit there. Got to get a few things here. I get my axle, get a little bit of grease. I almost couldn't get this axle out. I mean, it was locked in there pretty tight. Didn't have any grease on it. And it did not have a pinch bolt, which I have to replace because there was none in it. Okay, so now we have a spacer that goes on this side. And there's a washer, and the washer goes in between the brake stay and the frame. So now we'll go ahead and line our pads up. We'll go ahead and take our cardboard out. Let it slide in like that. And it looks like my shim came out, so I gotta put that back in. My bushing. Okay. So we'll just gently start this. We don't want it in the hole yet until we get our washer in place. Let's shove a screwdriver in there to open that up just a little bit in order to get this washer in there. Shove it in. All right. See if I can gently pry this out enough to get that in place. There we go. It wasn't too bad. Now this is kind of hard to get to, but trying to keep this chrome covered, I know it's hard to see anything with all that chrome flashing back. I hope you can still see whenever I was putting the tire in. But we'll tighten down this brake stay bolt. That's good and tight. And then I'll take off my tape. I kind of had this taped up for a couple of reasons. I had the sealing washers on this banjo bolt, not to lose them, and to kind of keep it from leaking. So we'll put the washer in place, banjo bolt, tighten this up. I see there's a clamp right here. It goes down there, and a little bolt goes in here. And then this line fits down in between the notches like that to hold it, so when you tighten it, it won't move. Okay. Feels like it's rolling fine. Alright, now I'm going to put a little bit of thread locker on this bolt, on this axle bolt. Probably doesn't need it because it's got a locked nut, but I like to be extra sure. Just run this down. And then the torque setting is 65 foot-pounds. There's 60, 65. There's the proper setting. And like I say, the torque bolt was missing. And like I say, this pinch bolt was missing. So fortunately I keep just about every bolt that I could keep for stuff like this. And I actually have one that'll work. And it's a pretty nice looking bolt too, so it'll work out good. Alright, that's good. Alright, I'm going to pump the brakes up. And I'm going to hold it. Let some air out of it. It's going to take quite a bit because that caliper was completely empty. I see the shoes moving a little bit. Still nothing. Got a little bit of air. It probably needs the fluid changed in this anyway, so. It's probably a good thing. I got a little fluid coming out now. All right, I think that pretty much does it. All right, let's go ahead and put this fender on. I wasn't going to film this. I was just going to do this myself, but off camera. I thought, well, somebody might want to watch, so here we go. All we got to do is line up these saddlebag stays, and then we'll get this front part of the fender up. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get in there, but we will get it. Okay, I'm just going to loosely start that one. I may have to take it back out. It doesn't feel like it's in there real good. And I'll start this other side. Yeah, that one's starting pretty good. The reason we want to do that, the two front ones first, is we have to put our sissy bar, backrest, whatever you want to call it. Have to slide it in here first. And then that goes in after. So you got four things to line up here, something like that. Okay, we'll leave that loose. Okay, got the same thing on this side. I have to loosen this a little bit. I need to go through and clean up all this stuff. Got a little bit of rust barely starting on it. Okay. Now all we have left is this wire. And this wire was underneath. Let's see if I can get it. I'll try to pull it through. It went underneath here like this. It was just like that. Alright, then we have all these connectors we have to connect up. Got green with the yellow tracer. Goes in that one. Got orange to orange. Alright. Got blue to blue. And then we've got, what is that one? Brown to brown. And then we have a green. Where's the green? There it is. Alright. Look, all the wires are hooked back in. Now I'm at the point where I can put the saddlebags on. They just laid across here. It was no big deal. They just laid like that. And then the seat sits on here. All it does is tuck underneath the front. And then back here in the back, it's got one bolt that bolts it on. Looks like his bracket's loose. I'm going to have to tighten that bracket. I didn't see that. But I'm not going to put this on yet because I want to do a service on the final drive oil. And these bags are just in the way. So I'm going to leave this just like this. So this will finish the video on the rear fender.